The struggle with self-worth is real. Show me someone who is depressed or anxious, and I will show you someone who has been taught to compromise their own value. I'm Dr. Barbara Morris Jensen, and this is my Oxford Talk. My father shared with me once that every person on the day they are born has a gift-wrapped package laid at their feet that few will choose to open. That gift is your true authentic self. With each choice you make, you are either being true to your authentic self or developing a pseudo-self. From one experience to another, we all do this on a regular basis. So often and on such a small scale that we may not recognize the direction we are headed. When struggling with low self-worth, there is a gap between who you really are and who you believe yourself to be. The gap is filled with beliefs, opinions, reactions, and evidence introduced by your external environment and reinforced by yourself. Your life consists of many versions of you. Some you may be aware of, and others not. Whichever version you practice the most becomes not only your personality, but also the lens through which you view yourself and your life. When experiencing depression and anxiety, the root problem may be a distorted mirror of misbeliefs. If you were sitting next to a friend, would you encourage their self-doubt, or would you offer a more rational response to their situation and encourage them to think differently? What if that friend is you? Does that change the way you'd respond? Whether in your own life or your relationship with others, you are either part of the problem or the solution. For someone who believes they are worthless, the challenge is the majority of their subconscious mind will support the problem, not the solution. Self-doubt and low self-worth are not something any child is born with. However, with enough reinforcement from other people's opinions, a blueprint is developed and imprinted upon the subconscious mind, and soon enough, automatic thinking takes over. I'd like to share a story with you. Growing up in a highly dysfunctional family, layered with trauma, chaos, bullying, and abuse, I separated from my true self at a very young age. Numbness, confusion, and emptiness became my way of being. However, little did I know there was still a part of me that remained tucked away in the gap, waiting for the opportunity to emerge. There were 3 pivotal moments that changed the trajectory of my life. The first moment was when my father casually asked me what I wanted to do when I grew up. My immediate answer? I want to be a psychologist. As I was thinking to myself, duh, doesn't everybody know what they want to do? I answered from a deep inner knowing, which I later learned wasn't all that common. Just 3 years later, at the age of 16, the second pivotal moment occurred. My older brother asked me where I wanted to go to college. My reply, I'm too stupid to go to college. Strangely, even though I knew I wanted to be a psychologist, this was the furthest thing from my mind. By 16 years old, I was so detached from my emotions and memories that I didn't remember this conversation with my brother until years later when the third pivotal moment occurred. Numbing became my self-preservation. Memories of my life experiences were buried in a place where I no longer had access. What I didn't understand then was that the brain and nervous system are built with a survival system, and my survival instincts were well intact. By my mid-20s, I was married, had 2 children, owned a house, worked at a bank, yet lived with no grounded approach or sense of how to facilitate the necessary steps and stages to live, love, or parent in a healthy, cohesive way. I settled into an unrealistic fantasy. However, life abruptly and painfully brought a huge reality check. I was about to feel my buried emotions and learn resilience the hard way. Tragedy struck and brought with it the beginning of my great awakening. My father, the person I was closest to and loved dearly, died suddenly. I was crushed, desperate, and wanted to die. What I didn't realize was that the part of me that I developed to shield myself from past wounds was destined to fade away. My father was my lifeline, and now I had to rely upon myself. What I didn't know was I would reawaken my authentic self along the way. All I had left of my father were the wisdom he shared and his psychology and spirituality books. He was an intelligent man and had become an extremely wise and awakened man after his own life-altering and awakening experience. While gathering his books, I found a psychology book, and my early memory of declaring I was going to be a psychologist came flooding back to the forefront of my mind. I took this book to my brother and said with a desperate plea, "I want to be a psychologist." His reply, "How old will you be in 5 years?" When I answered 32, he asked, "Will you be 5 years older with or without that degree?" I was at a crossroads. Should I continue with an unhappy and unhealthy marriage, or trust life and follow what I'd known I was called to do all along? The gap was exposed, and now the bridge appeared. Once again, the change was drastic. No preparation. Trial by fire ensued. My marriage ended abruptly. I lost my home, and my 2 children and I were homeless. With no job and no family to help me financially, I set out one blind step at a time, while still in the chaos of my mind and emotions, but also guided by something higher and greater that I didn't even know I was in touch with. Amidst my desperation, my unyielding desire to persevere burned brightly within me, even as the shadows of uncertainty clouded the path ahead. Unknowingly, I was being led step by step. I started college and got a part-time job. I was dedicated while also sorting through the thoughts and emotions that were swirling around inside of me. I felt lost in a sea of despair and low self-worth. The doubt, fear, and depression doubled down when my sister was killed in an accident, leaving behind my 3-year-old niece, who shortly thereafter became my 3rd child. How could I possibly transfer to graduate school when I had to work and care for my 3 children while scraping the barrel financially and regularly worrying about having enough food? Once again, I was desperate and depressed. I knew deep inside I wanted to continue, yet I was plagued with uncertainty of how it would all work out. Yet something inside of me kept nudging me forward. Doubt and fear arose in me once again when it was time to apply to graduate college. Who was I, thinking I could get a doctorate, and create a happy life for my kids and myself. I was stupid, worthless, and disposable, or so I thought at the time. On the morning of my college interview, I dropped to my knees and said, "I need a sign." That's all I could utter. There's something about being in a full state of surrender, something which no one can teach you, yet when you experience it, you know it. I pulled out a jewelry box from under my bed with my fake jewelry, which resembled the fake feeling I had about myself and my ability to achieve what my heart called me to. I opened the box, and what lay on top shocked me. It stopped me. It literally took my breath away. There on top of all the fake jewels was my father's medallion with his spiritual master's picture that he'd worn each day from the time he went through his spiritual awakening until the day he passed away. My other sister had lost the medallion 8 years prior, and now it appeared face up on top of the jewelry that I used most days. I didn't hesitate to ask how or why. I knew it was my sign. From that day forward, I trusted I was being guided, though from where, I still did not know. It guided, I followed. Fear, doubt, low self-worth remained, but it didn't matter to the authenticity that was emerging in me. I knew I'd find a way to free myself from pain, depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts, which resulted from my low self-worth. As time went on, I followed the signs, I trusted my heart, and I found a way back to my true and authentic self, and I love her immensely. I have been a psychologist for the last 20 years. My purpose is to guide others back to their true selves, just as I was guided back to my own. There is a bridge to cross from where we are to where we want to be. How do you know what's true for you? It's the whisper that won't go away, that keeps nudging you forward in the direction of your dreams. In life, pivotal junctures emerge, demanding a choice: to tread the divergent road and distancing oneself, or to embark on the course aligning with your innate direction. The struggle is real. Even if there's fear woven in, somewhere deep inside, you'll know you're crossing the bridge to an authentic and fulfilling life. The steps are few, yet important. When you were young, you were full of dreams and imagination. Reconnecting with that younger part will remind you of your own unyielding desires. That small part is waiting for you to be the loving protector, guide, and parent to bring your dreams to reality. There's a future version of yourself living happy and fulfilled. You, too, can bridge that gap. So I ask you, what do you want? How old will you be in 5 years? Will you be 5 years older with or without that in your life? Life presents many moments where one must choose. The path that leads one further away, or the hero's journey that walks one onto the path that was theirs all along, the one that leads to their gift. Remember, every person on the day they are born has a gift-wrapped box laid at their feet, and very few will choose to open it. The question is, will you?